Father Terrance, and why is forgiveness such a struggle for some people? Well, there could be different reasons. At times, there is a sense of power felt in unforgiveness. And if you feel insignificant and powerless, you might be compensating by getting a sense of power and superiority and not forgiving. So unforgiveness can provide an illusion of power, and holding on to hatred can make someone feel strong. Forgiveness might also be difficult simply because of pride. If someone's done something wrong to me, it's as if I'm morally on a higher ground than they are, right? And some people like feeling that they're on the moral high ground, and they don't want to give up that high ground. It can feel good to look down on others, and we can think, well, they need to know how wrong they are for doing that, right? Sometimes this is like what they call virtue signaling, showing how virtuous I am and how unvirtuous you are. June Hunt, in her talks on forgiveness, describes it like a seesaw. If the two of us are on a seesaw, so me on one side, you on the other, when I push you down, what happens? I rise up. That's how the seesaw works. Sometimes, again, we like feeling higher or better than others, so we hold on to unforgiveness. Another reason why someone might not forgive is because they don't really know what forgiveness looks like. They never saw forgiveness modeled in their family. You ever wonder why some people who are parents don't really feel like parents or don't really act like them towards their children? Well, sometimes if we look at how they were raised, we'd probably get a better understanding of things. We tend to pass on what we received, and at times we pass on what we didn't receive. So someone who's never seen forgiveness probably had parents that weren't forgiving, or siblings or other relatives that weren't forgiving. Maybe everyone carried grudges or just didn't have anything to do with anyone else when relationships went sour. So they didn't have any experience of what forgiveness really even looks like. Sometimes people don't forgive out of fear. They don't even want to think about it or address the issue or admit that they have unforgiveness. Or they're afraid that forgiving a person means that we have to let them back into our life, and then they're going to do the same thing all over again, which is not the case. As we've noted in other videos, forgiveness and reconciliation, they aren't the same thing. But people who are afraid to forgive, maybe they even just default to blaming themselves for what happened because, again, they don't want to or know how to deal with the hurt and the pain that's associated with what happened to them. It may feel too traumatic for them to face. At times we don't forgive because we feel that forgiveness is actually not an option. It's not for others and not for ourselves. We think, well, they won't ever forgive me. God won't ever forgive me, so I can't ever forgive myself. It's not true, but that can be our thinking at times. Sometimes, as we just mentioned a minute ago, it's an issue of trauma. Someone who's been very traumatized can really struggle with forgiving those who've hurt them. And I think that the Lord is very understanding towards those who've suffered serious trauma. Others won't forgive because they think that they have to be bitter if they've been betrayed. They think that that's normal and that's the right response to being wronged. It's kind of like the mafia mentality, where there's just a cycle of wrongs and resentments and harsh responses to those wrongs. They feel that all the wrongs need to be avenged, that people should pay for what they've done. Sometimes people won't forgive because they're waiting for the other person to show repentance or to apologize, or they think that forgiveness means excusing bad behavior, when in reality, forgiveness is just between you and the Lord, and it doesn't need to involve the person who offended you. Lastly, some people won't forgive because they're hung up on that need for justice. We often want justice for the guilty party, unless we ourselves are the guilty party. Then we typically want mercy. Those who are focused on the law and right and wrong are more justice-minded. Those who are focused on grace and on their own sins and faults and failings tend to be more mercy-minded. The death of Jesus on the cross fulfilled the justice of God, as the New Testament tells us. And it's that same Jesus who tells us many times in the New Testament that we need to extend mercy and forgiveness to others. So justice is natural and good. Forgiveness and mercy are supernatural, and they're even better. So those are some of, or most of, the reasons why people can choose not to forgive. Let's ask Our Lady for that grace to choose to let go, to choose to release, to choose on working on forgiving those who have hurt us in any way. I'm Father Terrance. Ave Maria, thank you so very much for listening. Please keep me in your prayers, and I will keep you in mine as well. God bless you and take care.